Not members of the ICC, ma'am. So, whatever relationship we have with the ICC is on an arm's length basis if we have to talk to them. But we have never spoken to them.
I'm sorry, Secretary, I didn't hear you. Whatever relationship we have
It's on an arm's length basis, meaning very transparent if ever. But we have never spoken to them.
arm's length.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have had contact even at
No, ma'am.
arm's length?
We do not have any contact. What we're saying is we are very transparent about what we do, and we have never had any contact with the ICC.
So you uphold the statement of the President saying that the ICC has no jurisdiction here in the Philippines. Is that correct?
Ma'am, jurisdiction of the ICC is throughout the world. We belong to a community of nations
Regardless
that
of
is
those
tied
who are
together by a legal system called international humanitarian law. It is something adopted by more than 150 countries in the world. International humanitarian law, which became a law in 2009 or 2010. And that law, that domestic law, is what we adhere to in this case.
Are you referring to RA 9851?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you indicated the date of 2009, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So therefore, we are not members of the ICC.
We are not members of the ICC since President Duterte withdrew our membership in 2018, effective 2019.
Okay. That being the position of the DILG, I assume that Secretary Remulla in the DILG also maintains the same.
Yes, ma'am. I defer to the wisdom of the Department of Justice.
And the PNP, General Marbil, please.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you. If that is therefore an unqualified yes, and you are in agreement with the President that the ICC has no jurisdiction whatsoever, what was the DOJ referring to as the ICC's jurisdiction in the Philippines being different from us being a member? What is the distinction, please?
Ma'am, the ICC tries people for individual crimes, not states. So the Philippines, as a state, cannot be called upon by the ICC to do something for them. But when the ICC is running after individuals who are Filipino citizens, then that obligation becomes another kind of obligation.
So that therefore, the Senate ratification of the ICC at the time that it was ratified is of no weight. Regardless, you will fall under the jurisdiction of the ICC under
Well,
the
for individuals-
so-called international.
Yes, madam.
humanitarian. That is your belief, DOJ.
Yes, madam. When there are
Regardless of
individuals
being a party
being
or not
when
being a
there are
party?
individuals being asked by the ICC to explain, it is another matter. As a state is different from an individual. We all know that we have to.
I think that is
the
not the
individuals
question.
being charged by the ICC will have to face the ICC.
I'm perplexed. The DFA made it very clear that as we withdrew, we are no longer a state party to the treaty. And now you're saying that we can nevertheless fall under the ICC, under the generic rubric of international humanitarian law. So it doesn't matter whether you sign or do not sign, whether
Yes, ma'am.
you ratify
It
or
doesn't
do not
matter, ma'am.
ratify.
It
It
doesn't
makes no
matter.
difference.
Does not make any difference anymore.
Are you certain?
I'm certain.
Okay, Attorney Saret, please, from DFA. Is that the position of the DFA?
Madam Chair, I concur with my USEC, the current acting SFA, that as far as we are concerned, we're no longer members of the ICC, ma'am.
And as non-members, can we possibly fall under the jurisdiction of the ICC under the rubric of international humanitarian law? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I think, because we, under the,
What's the use of signing or ratifying a treaty if it bears no weight?
yes, I defer, ma'am, to Secretary Remulla.
May
on
I?
this one, ma'am.
I think it's your purview, your DFA.
Yes, ma'am. But yes, ma'am. Technically, we are no longer a member of the ICC, but we might be obligated under residual jurisdiction, as what the Supreme Court in one case already mentioned, that we still have residual jurisdiction. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes,
Madam Chair, if I may.
I'm a little bit perplexed given that you are part of the executive. The president has said, as he said for the 100th time, that we are not under the ICC. Why is the SOJ now saying that we are nevertheless, somehow, in some miraculous way, under the rubric of the international humanitarian law, still under its jurisdiction?
Your Honor, it is not the Philippines that is under the jurisdiction. It is the individuals who are charged by the ICC, which is under the jurisdiction. There is a distinction, ma'am.
Please explain.
As non-members of the ICC, and as a state, the ICC has no jurisdiction over us as a country. But over the individuals who may have committed crimes that violate international humanitarian law, that is a universal value being held by the whole world today, that people cannot cross borders and hide behind boundaries so that they can run away from the law. International humanitarian law is something adopted. The principles are adopted by more than 150 countries throughout the world, Your Honor.
I feel that we have in our police and judiciary a good system. We do not need assistance from any outside entity. Again, as part of the executive department, you have subscribed to this view, I assume.
Yes, Madam.
So to clarify, the statement means that the president was not recognizing the jurisdiction of the ICC over the crimes allegedly committed by the former president. Is that correct?
We do not recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC over our country. What we recognize is the jurisdiction of the ICC over individuals who may have violated international humanitarian law by committing murder and other heinous crimes.
If I may, I think the president was referring to the jurisdiction of the ICC over crimes, specifically crimes committed by PRRD. Isn't that so?
Can you rephrase your question, ma'am?
Well, you said that while the ICC has no jurisdiction over the Philippines as a state, it maintains jurisdiction over individuals and crimes under
Yes,
the
ma'am.
international humanitarian order.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. What the president said is that there is no jurisdiction over the crimes committed by the former president
Well,
because we have a functioning police and judiciary system. Unless you submit that we don't.
submit that we don't what, ma'am?
That we don't have a functioning police force.
We have a functioning
or
police
a
force.
judiciary.
We have a judiciary. But what we are dealing with here
You're
is crimes
contradicting your
committed
president,
14 years
Secretary.
ago to 2019. We're talking about a timeline, Your Honor, that we were not even here yet, and that it was very hard. Ma'am, may I continue?
Yes, carry on.
Well,
yes.
it was very difficult for us. We made our
No, the
commitments.
president made it very clear.
We
have
made our
functioning-
commitments to the United Nations that we would investigate all of these crimes committed during the drug war. And it was not a very easy task, ma'am, because the people that we expect to be cooperating with us were not. So, although we're still doing our investigations on the EJ case, on the extrajudicial killings committed during that time,